We're rolling.
We're doing this thing, huh?
We're doing it. We're doing it.
Cool. Monday,
day after yesterday's BBQ Throwdown.
Yeah, tell us about that. I didn't go to that one.
That actually was a lot of fun. It was held by St. Arnold's, and there was like all these different barbecue representatives from Austin and Houston. That was what the whole competition was comprised of.
Were they invited? Was that an invited thing?
I have no idea. That's a good question. I don't know.
I
just know that everybody that I saw there either came from, surrounding either Houston or surrounding Houston or
right.
Austin, and the same way, surrounding Austin area. But that was cool as shit. I got to taste some things there that I found food there that I ordinarily would never ever associate with barbecue.
Right.
Like I was telling you at lunch. Somebody had smoked this ahi tuna, which was really, really good. But just not something you would expect to find at freaking...
Yeah, because you don't consider that barbecue.
No.
You really don't.
Not at all.
Yeah.
So, but I got a chance to eat a lot of things that either I had never tried the way it was prepared or just new things. But
right.
some people that we were familiar with were there.
Right.
Tejas out of Tomball
right.
and Reveille. Both those guys.
What did Tejas throw down? What did they have? Pork belly or something like that?
Yeah. That was my buddy Jeff's
right.
chief complaint about most of the contributions or most of the main dishes that the people were preparing were that there was a lot of pork belly there, which
it's funny because I have specific feelings about barbecue, and they parallel your friends. Because every region has its specialty, and Texas has always been known as the brisket capital of barbecue. And then you get up to St. Louis, you have the ribs, and then you get to the Carolinas, you have pulled pork. And then you go to Memphis, and it's the same thing. It's ribs and other stuff like that. But usually Texas, when you see barbecue, you're going to see brisket, and it didn't sound like there's a lot of brisket going on over at that one. So
no, I honestly, I can tell you, I don't recall ever. I didn't do as much walking around as my buddy did, but his quick glance and scan of the room because he went to every station that was serving food, and his assessment was everybody's got some sort of a pork belly thing that they're serving around, and I probably I think probably there might have been 14-ish people serving there that I think, and I
really.
Yeah.
Wow.
The banquet hall or whatever they call that room that they hosted this thing in was really freaking nice.
Right.
Very industrial, rustic looking. I mean, still not a lot of fancy schmancy stuff here. Like brick, like it was hey, when we're not using it for banquet rooms, we store shit in here.
Oh, okay.
Like beer.
Well, it's smart though. I like that. That's St. Arnold's is really stepping out. They've done some cool stuff. I know they added that new banquet hall. I think they had a concert there not too long ago.
Yeah. And so because St. Arnold's for me is I go back to the days of when St. Arnold was still in the business part.
I remember that. Yeah.
And it's it's basically operating this beer out of this hole in the wall place. But I went to some really cool events there back in the 90s.
Well, those destination venues are what makes it fun. When they start becoming like sanitary, tight, clean, that whole corporate
people walking around in white suits.
Yeah, that's just not so much fun. I like a place where you can go gather and have an experience and have a good time, and it sounded like that's what that was.
Yeah, and because it's a Sunday thing, you really had their normal Sunday gathering on the brewery side, and then where we were going was a separate part of the facility.
Yeah, that wasn't a cheap venue to go to. You said it was like what, $70?
Yeah, it was like $70 a pop. But right. I'll tell you what, for me, because I got to eat a lot of things that I don't ordinarily get to eat or exposed to, or like hell, I had oxtail, and I can tell you right now, out of all the things that I ate, for me, the oxtail was by far the best because it had like a shit ton of flavor. in this thing. It was, I mean,
well, that's why they use it for soup stock. I mean, there is a lot of flavor in that. Yeah, it's funny because all the offals that you just described, all the things that aren't normally traditional barbecue items, are starting to creep into it. And I was thinking about that after we talked at lunch. Sometimes you kind of got to go with shock and awe with spectators.
Right.
Because I don't know how many people can actually sit there and give you a definition of what a good brisket is or what a good rib is. A lot of times people are fooled by flavors. What I mean by is cover-up flavors.
Right.
And I think that might be why things like this have gotten popular, because you take a pork belly, you got to do something to it. Just straight up pork belly would not be that good.
Right.
So you'd have to add like pickled something or season this and make it as a compliment plate. So I kind of see where this is starting to go with barbecue joints now, is where they're getting signature sides.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
You got signature sides, and then you got a signature dish that complements that side. And I think you're seeing more of a, I guess, bougie barbecue.
Yeah. Now, the one thing I will say, which kind of addresses the whole international scene of Houston and really just how society is just developing, is the thing that was really cool about going to this event is, it's no longer like, let's take like the 60s I really can't tell you what the 60s looked like, but the 70s. 70s in Houston, it would have been, just a shit ton of like probably white people and, few African-American community. Yeah. But yesterday, it was like, hey, it's a who's who from the globe that were there. And it was cool because we were all there to eat fucking all kinds of different kind of meat and drink beer.
So, I hear what you're saying. I hear that, but here's kind of my take on that.
Right.
So, there's the Sunday barbecue's been a big thing in Texas forever.
Yeah, I didn't even think about drawing the Sunday.
Yeah, so the Sunday barbecue's been big, and every community of every culture has their own version of it.
Right.
And it's one of those things to where barbecue's a great equalizer, if you ask me. So if you look at the LBJ Ranch, they used to have these big pits. I mean, huge pits dug in the ground where they'd make 15 or 20 sides of beef. Mm-hmm. Now, you had Hispanics working there. You had black barbecue pit masters that were doing that. And honestly, I'll tell you what. When you start looking at and you start crediting barbecue in Texas, you got to give it to the black culture for this, because a lot of these things come from them. You got to remember, all this stuff is born from peasant. I hate to say it because it's not the right way, but it's peasant food in a way,
right? To
where it's not the most expensive cuts that they've made taste fantastic.
Okay,
and that's usually time, and it could be brining, it could be seasoning, it could be dry rub, and it could also be barbecuing technique. Mm-hmm. So it's only a natural state for this part of our country, because if you look at the cultural influence, we have Asian influence, we have South American influence, we have Hispanic influence, we have African influence, we have Czech, Italians, Poles. We have all this culture in our area.
Right.
And everybody of some kind has been burning meat for history, for forever. And what I like to see is all this stuff to start coming out. The pork belly is one of those cheap cuts of meat that they didn't do anything with other than make bacon out of it for the longest time.
But you have to make your magic with it.
Yes, a lot of it was salt pork, and they mostly made beans with it, or it was used as a base for like greens or some other thing.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of cool to see that emergence of fusion barbecue come out.
And fusion was exactly the word that I was hoping to get.
Yeah. Out. Well, judging barbecue for so many years, you start looking at it becomes, and so I don't judge anymore, and I probably won't after somebody hears me say this, but it got to become a popularity contest and how much money you were donating to the organizations that you were that were sponsoring the event.
Okay.
So that was kind of the problem. Even though these were unanimous entries, you kind of knew, somebody knew. And so I got kind of tired of that. And also, too, everybody thinks they're a good barbecue chef.
Right.
And honestly, hey, go for it. I mean, if that's your thing, go for it. If you got a group of people that like it, hey, good for you. But when you get right down to the true barbecue experience in Texas, you got to expect the tradition to be broken.
Right.
because of what you just talked about with the melting pot.
You know, with this skill level, I mean, everybody kind of achieves some sort of a level of fame, whether it's only going to be within your community, within your family. Because I myself have family members that are very synonymous with, hey, these people can burn. These people, they're with barbecue teams and stuff like that. Me, all I care about is how well I cook inside my household. And if I walk away from whatever it is that I cook and I'm smiling, that's all I care about.
Yeah. Well, we talked about experience today. We were talking literally about what you expose yourself to.
Yes.
So it's funny because if you sit there and eat brisket the same way every time, and you look at brisket and you go, well, this is my level of barbecue. Yeah. Well, if you ask somebody else, to them it's ribs or burnt ends. Like my wife loves burnt ends. Uh-huh. To her, she'd rather have that than brisket. And then her second thing would be ribs. Okay,
so I do dig ribs.
Yeah,
my dad's that same way.
So if you think about those two items alone, where you're introducing a lot of flavor on a meat a cut of meat that generally has been unattractive. Because, you know, if you think about what they do with ribs now, they actually leave the loin on it and they give you what's called a tomahawk.
Oh, yeah.
A tomahawk. Yeah. So think about smoking those, which I've done before, where I've actually taken the entire chine bone, what they would call a tomahawk cut, and go ahead and treat it like barbecue. Uh-huh. It turns out really good. You get a lot from those bones. And the flavor really comes in, and when you're done, you just eat it. You know, when it's done, you just eat it like with like a popsicle. Sure. You know, you got this whole stick. But that was coming from lamb chops. That's really, you know, when you start doing lamb, it's the same way.
Right.
You just get with the bone on, you know, the rib bone, and you make the lamb chop. So it's fun to watch. It's fun to watch people kind of stretch now, because competition in barbecue can get really static. It really can. I mean, you know, I'll tell you. I know we talked about this before, but if you sit there, they have multiple tables, and you have say you have 200 entries.
Right.
The first group of tables has to eliminate a whole hell of a lot of barbecue to get to the second and final round. The poor guys that sit at those first tables are chumming through a shitload of barbecue that's not good.
Yeah,
it's just not good.
When I think about the whole, you know, particularly if your competition is going to be based around just one meat,
right?
Okay, the brisket,
right?
And I'm like, for me, that you can't get much more vanilla than suddenly arriving at the conclusion that only barbecue that only Texas barbecue is brisket that you do over an open flame or whatever. So, and I'm like, I want to have all the fucking meat.
I'm the same way.
Not all the meats, but
I hear you. But no, I get you, because it's really the experience. I like to see what people bring to the table. I know I've talked about this before, but years ago I used to teach Boy Scouts how to cook in Dutch ovens.
Right.
And I didn't think, when I first went into it, I was kind of trepidatious about it. I didn't think that they were going to pay any attention to it.
Right.
It's like, these are just Boy Scouts trying to earn a merit badge. But I will tell you, those dudes brought it.
Right.
And what was cool about it was the cultural diversity of the group of young men in that organization at the time.
But you're also trying to bring out a skill of being able to, you know, eat in the outdoors.
Yeah. Yeah. But the stuff they did was incredible. And what was really cool was a lot of them were really faithful to their cultural roots.
That's cool.
You had this really broad range of really good tasting food in a Dutch oven, which I love that. I mean, to me, that's a universal language that connects all of us.
Okay.
You know, you can have differences of many kinds until you sit down at the table. Mm-hmm. And then when you sit down at the table, that's kind of where you really learn about culture. Okay. And you learn about people and traditions. And I like to see that. And I think it's fun that guys are stretching their areas, you know, to try other different things. I know Tejas is interesting, because when we go to Tejas, I haven't been there in a little bit. I have a friend that actually used to run a restaurant that's now working for them, and I'd like to see what he's done since he's been there.
Right.
But when I went in there and they had the barbecued pastrami.
Oh,
dude,
yeah,
that's bringing it. And then there's sides, you know, the corn casserole and the potatoes, or the carrot souffle and things like that. And those are fun to see.
And actually, I probably would have had more. I would have probably liked to have seen a few more sides at some of these places, because some of the places that we have gone to, they've got sides that I'm like, shit. The meat that you cook is good,
Mm-hmm.
but the sides that you make are like out of this fucking world.
Oh yeah,
Like some of the sides that I remember from Reveille, when we went that one time, the sides alone were like, fuck, I would just come back here just for your mac and cheese. God damn.
So we're definitely going to their new place in December.
And I did stop and talk to them for a little bit.
You?
And I did mention it, and they're like, yep, getting all geared, ready to go.
Good. So that is going to be their home for a while?
That's the plan.
Okay.
So they confirmed that while I was there.
You know, the only problem I'm going to have is the parking up in around that place. I hope they got that worked out. Because that was such a pain in the ass last time we were up there.
Well, so so where we parked the last time, which when my Army buddy and I went up there for the first time, that was the normal designated parking for when you go visit.
Yeah, but now
brewery.
you got a fast food chicken place that's claimed stake to a lot of ground there.
Yeah, and it's only getting okay. So nobody who's going to the brewery parks in that parking lot anymore. They all
you got to go across down the street in
Right.
this big empty field that can get muddy as shit.
Which is but that's the normal parking place.
Right.
So I parked there the last time the last two times I've gone over there to meet another friend of mine. And I haven't had any issues with parking, but now when you start adding an additional food element, particularly how popular Reveille has grown in this area, I actually see parking become more of an issue.
Oh, now. I do too. Yeah, and I hope that doesn't become a problem because, Corkscrew was really big. They were up at Booty Road over in the Woodlands. Have you ever been to Corkscrew?
You and I didn't. What's the one we went to over in Old Town Spring?
That's Corkscrew.
Okay.
Right. So when they used to be off of Booty Road, they started out small, which is smart. They had a trailer, and then the trailer turned into 4 or 5 of those parking enclosures that they, those carports that they put up with picnic tables. Mm-hmm. And then they moved into the old Hyde's Cafe in the Woodlands, which is a great location. But I'll tell you, I have been kind of underwhelmed the last 2 times I was there.
Is this different than their location now?
Yeah, they closed that location. They moved into a fixed building.
Okay, all right.
And the one thing, I guess and I hate to say this because I really like those guys. They were my guys for years. If I brought anybody to take out to barbecue, that's where I usually took them. Uh-huh. But last 2 times I've been there, the brisket has been so salty.
Really?
That it's just terrible. And that's a fine line. That's a really fine line with brisket. And I'm not knocking these guys because they have good days. But the days when the salt has been the issue for me when I go in there. Now, I will tell you, I've eaten at Reveille twice and love the place. Mm-hmm. The sides were excellent. They didn't take away from the meat, though. Right. The meat was still good. And I'll tell you, that's a hard thing to hit consistent all the time. Because wood, I mean, you gotta get that wood secured. You gotta, is it dry wood? Is it green wood? How does it burn hot? There's a lot of things that go to that.
Yeah, there's a lot of science.
To it.
And plus the guys that are doing it, I mean, they know the materials that they're working with and what to do. So,
sure. And hopefully your pit master's smart enough to figure it out and get it taken care of. But like I said, I'm not knocking Corkscrew. I still like going there. Right. It just the last 2 times is pretty salty. I know I talked a little bit about there's a lot of places in town. There's a lot of barbecue places, and the sad thing is, well, it's not the sad thing. It's just the good thing actually about barbecues. What I like may not be what everybody else might like, or some you might see something different than I did. Like there's one over here, Rango's off of.
I've seen it show up in some of the food groups. Never been.
Yeah, so I like the one thing I liked about Reveille is they had made their own sausage.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, when I can tell that thing has come out of a box, I'm not as enthused about it. You know what I mean? If it looks like a Chapel Hill or a Bryant sausage or something that they just put on a grill, I'm not really digging that. Right. I like the fact that
they've come up with a mixture.
That's just off the chain.
Sure.
And that's what I like about many barbecue places. Now we eat almost every Monday now for 2 years. We have usually lunch on Mondays at Rudy's.
Yeah, and big reason is they're consistent.
Yeah, they're consistent. They have a nice seating area. They don't have really their sides. To me, don't inspire me at all.
Right now, and the other thing is when you pick a time or when you pick a destination that's going to be different than Rudy's. Yeah, it also adds into it's the financial aspect is
sure.
Some of the
quite expensive
places can be very expensive.
Yeah, they are. They really are. You're paying like $8 for half a pound.
Right.
So you're looking at $16 a pound or more, depending on where you go.
So going to Rudy's Rudy's is an agreement amongst a lot of core things that we're looking at. It's affordable. Mm-hmm. It tastes the same every single time.
Sure. Yeah.
Would I go so far as to say it's like the McDonald's of barbecue? No, I would never ever say. I mean, there's other places out there that are the McDonald's. Hell, McDonald's is the McDonald's of barbecue. They got the fucking McRib.
I know, which isn't even real meat.
Which isn't, But again, there are other places like Luther's Barbecue, and not to knock. I don't even. Is there even still a Luther's around?
No, Luther's got all bought up by the Pappas Restaurant Group, and so Then you have Spring Creek's kind of jumped out there too. And have you seen that? I would call the McDonald's of barbecue.
Yeah, and some people like their, and I don't.
You know why I think they like it is because they have the big trays of rolls and all those sides.
Yeah, and it's not awful. It's just different.
Yeah, and it is way different.
And it's a different that is not agreeable to me.
Now, isn't that out of Dallas?
I
think they are. I think they're out of Dallas.
Ask me where some of these
I think they're out of Dallas because I saw them in Dallas for many, many years before they came down here.
But they're successful,
right?
So I mean, there's a lot of locations.
They have a following, and honestly, I hear what you're saying, and I'm not saying you're wrong. Right. I just if I haven't eaten there in 6 months, they're not successful.
Well, okay, yeah. So the metrics that you use are they're your metrics.
Yeah.
And so when I follow some of the comments that are made in some of the food groups about, and this is what I find funny is. No, and I follow a few food groups that are in our area.
Sure, we all do, yeah.
And the thing I think is most humorous is you'll at least once a week you will have somebody throw out a question like, who's got the best barbecue? Who's got the best hamburger?
Yeah.
Who's got the best taco? Yeah, it's these things, and I think these questions are thrown out just to develop conversation. But you have these people that will chime in, particularly when it comes to the barbecue part, where you have these faithful, devoted followers of Spring Creek who will say, "Hey, the barbecue that Spring Creek makes," and now this is, to me, it's funny, is just as good as the barbecue that they do over at Tejas Chocolate.
Right.
And I'm like, get the nope. I was like, I'm not. Are your taste buds handicapped too?
Yes, they are. They are.
I was like, that's crazy. Yeah. That's crazy talk.
So, spending a lot of time in the wine business and the restaurants and all the things, tasting panels have been a big part of my career.
Right.
And it's really funny when you panel these things because, if you do consumer paneling, the results are really kind of shocking. And then when you put a bunch of technical or professional panelers in there to taste,
right,
and evaluate, you get a completely different set of... I've never seen them cross and agree on anything. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because I keep trying to figure out the metrics that creates that. And when you look at it, the average person doesn't go through all the steps of critiquing. Mm-hmm. They go, oh, yeah, it's good. It's good. And so for them, if good enough is good enough, right, they score it high.
Well, I think it's funny when they call, what is it? What's the Italian chain restaurant?
Olive Garden.
Well, they say Olive Garden's real freaking Italian food. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
Stab me in the heart, will you?
And my parents were one of these until I took them to a place that was probably closer to Italian than they'd ever had.
Yeah.
Well, now they're Olive Garden's not pouring out of their mouth anymore.
Yeah, not at all. Well, it's funny. So you and I are pretty hardcore foodies. I mean, really are. I mean, I'm a professional foodie because that's what my industry was.
I just tell people I eat because I don't want to die.
But you're right on there, though. We have a lot of. We may not agree 100%, but we understand the criteria each of us judge these things by.
Yeah.
And we're very similar in where we draw our experiences, and we spend a lot of time. Food documentaries, food articles, discussions about food. So we really do run a pretty good race with it, okay?
Sure, yeah.
But when you look at the average consumer, and I'm not knocking them, it's just to them, to me, it's like, did I throw it up?
Right. Yeah, as long as
it stays down, or if it's affordable. And honestly, the palates of the average person, when you're trying to make products for a company,
right,
it's really hard to hit those home runs. Sometimes it's the cheapest shit that you can come up with. And it's got it's either sugary or it's salty or it's savory. It's not like it's really special to them.
And there's a lot of things that I look at now that I didn't look at before that I take into consideration. Like, okay, so I try to eat as much natural food as possible, and I'm no vegan,
right,
by any stretch of the imagination.
Well, you're talking about grass-fed cows and free-range chicken.
Yeah, but it's one of those things where as long as the things that I'm cooking or eating, there's less likelihood of them coming out of a can or a box, the happier I am.
Sure,
and which is the thing that I strive for all the time. Because I want to feed my family. I want to feed myself things that weren't developed in a lab.
Well, it's, and I know we talk about this a lot on the side, and sometimes even on some of the podcast episodes.
Right.
The hardest decision for couples to make is where you want to go eat.
Right.
And so it's just my wife and I, so we don't have kids or any other influences in the discussion. But the one thing that we do look at is the cost and value of where we go.
Yeah.
And I hate to say it, but I can cook better than any restaurant I've ever eaten in. Okay, but there's a reason for that. Okay, right. Obviously that's my background, and second of all, I'm very selective with my ingredients, and I know how to build flavor portfolios. Right.
Right.
So when we go somewhere, take for example a simple thing like a salad. So you would think that a salad would be the easiest thing to make. It's lettuce, right? You break it up or whatever it is you do with it. You put it in a bowl with some other things. You put dressing on it and eat it.
Right.
How many times you went to a restaurant and the salad was warm, wilty, and just unacceptable?
Oh,
a lot.
And I'm not a big salad eater when I go to a restaurant.
See, we eat lots of salad, and we put like meat on top of it.
And I would do like salad. I would do at home. I just won't do it at a restaurant.
Well, but like bag salad, you will never see me buy a bag of salad.
Which I'm probably sometimes.
You know how many salmonella issues come out of that? Well, I mean, it's
if I'm surviving, my body is a tank.
Yeah, you are, because the packaging is more suited for the manufacturer and the retailer than it is for the consumer.
Right.
Okay. Anytime you pick up a bag that's sealed and there's cold and hot conflicting, you're going to get condensation. And when you get condensation collecting in a bag, you're going to get bacteria. Unless you put some kind of barrier, which you don't want food that has a barrier on it, right?
One of the first things that kind of occurred to me is, are you trying to keep something out or trying to keep something in?
Well, there's two factors that they have to look at. One is the handling of multiple people in a grocery store environment. Right? That thing's going to get handled by everybody. But here's the problem. It's only as good as their ability to get it refrigerated, keep it refrigerated, and sell it as it's refrigerated. A lot of these stores, shit sits out in the back room, and it gets hot, then gets put in a cooler, it gets cold, then comes back out to the sales floor and gets hot and then cold again. Yeah. That's where I really struggle. So for me, I'll go buy a head of lettuce. Right. Okay? I will literally go buy a head of lettuce, bring it home, soak it in ice water and lemon juice, get it all hydrated and refreshed again, break it up, it's all clean, spin it dry, put it in a bowl, and that stuff will hold for 3 or 4 days. You open a bag of lettuce, it starts turning brown in 24 hours.
Yeah, true. Okay.
So that's why we don't do that. So we literally, I'll go buy radishes with the top and the root on it. I buy carrots with the top and the root on it.
Right. Now I do all that.
Yeah, all those things that I do to ensure that the integrity of the quality.
Right.
You don't get that in restaurants in many cases. A lot of times that stuff comes in a bucket, and it is treated to keep it from turning color.
And really, if you think about it, whether it's fresh fruit, produce, or whatever, or something that comes out of a box, there's a rhyme and a reason for why people do the things that they do. If you have a very busy lifestyle where you're rushing kids around to sports and activities and stuff like that, because I remember as a kid.
No, I understand it.
That they're, hey, you still have to feed your family, and whether you're going to do it at home or do it out of McDonald's bag,
right?
You justify it somehow, because the only reason you're doing that is because you haven't made concessions somewhere else, and that's not a slam. Yeah, that's just that it is what it is.
It is, and I understand that, and they do package for convenience. I get that, but the problem is there's so many variables that have to be right. for that to work. We were talking about your pantry, your parents' pantry when you were a kid. And so when you sit there, and one of the comments you made was, well, I like how it looked because everything was in there, and I know necessarily it wasn't really good for me, but it was in there for a while.
And I think the thing that I probably valued more about the pantry was probably the space versus what was in it.
Right.
But now that I think about how I cook now, the last thing I want is to have something that has space. because most of the time the stuff I'm cooking now it has a shorter shelf life, and if I'm putting it in some place that's dark and maybe I don't go into very often, now I'm just talking about housing a bunch of stuff that's going to spoil anyway.
Well, that's true. What's interesting about organic, though, it outlasts commercial product. Actually, when you buy organic anything and store it in a refrigerator, it holds up better. Because it has fortitude that this other commercially grown stuff doesn't have.
Yeah.
And it's funny because you were talking about a pantry. So for me as a kid, it was a root cellar.
Yeah.
So we had a root cellar with a lot of stuff in mason jars. And we had actually onions that were hanging, that were, you tie the tops and hang them. Potatoes were stacked up on racks with straw.
Yeah.
I mean, so all the stuff that we had was either frozen or stored some way.
Yeah.
But it was of a natural nature.
And I will. So when you look at the differences, like when I would go back to East Texas to visit my grandparents up there, the normal how you store food and health, just what you ate, was a huge departure than when you come to the city, where you see these boxes upon boxes of like Kraft macaroni and cheese and cans of stuff, and it's not canned goods that came out of your own garden.
No,
it's canned goods that came from a facility that was probably trucked thousands of miles away,
or from a different country, because you have seasonal, seasonal diversity. And you made a really good point that you have people that are working with kids, and I get that,
right?
And it's just one of those things, though. Do you sacrifice healthy food for convenience?
Yeah, it's the concessions that.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because if you're eating healthy and living a healthy lifestyle, you really don't crave the food that you do when you're not eating a healthy lifestyle. Right. When you start feeding people cereals and fast food and things like that,
the worst thing.
You're just continually just eating that stuff, and it just creates issues for you. But it's funny because we've swung way away from the barbecue thing.
Yeah, we swung way away from what the stuff that's on our board. Holy crap!
Well, yeah, that's true. Well, we're gonna get to that. We'll get to that here in a second. It's just that one of the things that you really got to look at that's going on in the food industry right now is all these things that are becoming analog meals.
Right.
And what I mean by analog is it's sold to look like meat, but really isn't meat. It's sold to look like seafood, but it really isn't seafood. And you're seeing a huge trade-off now with consumers.
Oh, so what you just described there is what irks me when you go to buy crab meat.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Is crab meat really is just what, white
it's
fish?
It's surmy. Yeah. It's surmy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but if somebody who doesn't know that the name would say, that's just whitefish rolled up really, really fucking tight.
That's really what it is. Yeah. And it's been treated. You wouldn't know. You don't want to know how it's been done. But yeah, so you have a lot of that. But what I think is funny, going back to the barbecue thing, is we got guys that are competing all the time. There's so many leagues. We talked about this with chili not too long ago. The one thing I've never seen in a barbecue cook-off or chili cook-off is dudes taking their pots and pans and trying to beat themselves senseless with it because they won or lost. Is that a good segue?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So we wanted to kind of talk about this, and we want to be careful with it because a lot of people have turned this into a racial thing. And I am sick and tired of that.
We're talking about you, Stephen Ruiz.
Yeah. So the Myles Garrett, Myles Garrett, and what's that?
Mason Rudolph.
Yeah, Rudolph. And so what ended up happening? I don't follow NFL anymore
because Thursday night game. It was between Cleveland Browns and the Steelers.
Yeah, which are two teams that are, who gives a shit? I don't watch them anyway.
Right.
And what ended up happening was the Browns were just sacking the crap out of the Steelers quarterback, right?
I think Mason was up close and personal with a lot of the defense.
With a lot of defense. And so there was a play, I guess, towards the end of the game, was it?
I don't even know when it happened. When it occurred. It was the only reason I know about it is because one of Todd's and my old boss happened to post something on Facebook.
And it's blown up everywhere.
And I'm curious, and man, I was like, oh my God.
So
wow.
What had ended up happening is the guy got sacked, and apparently And, you know, I think they're all wrong. First of all, I'm going to premise it this way. Anytime you get in a fight on the field,
right,
if you're getting your ass kicked because your line sucks,
right,
okay,
yeah, because they freaking mowed through that. Line.
You can't really be mad at the guy that's been nailing you,
right?
Okay, so anyway, he gets knocked to the ground, and the one thing I don't like about football is the shit talking that goes on. Now, we don't know what was said. We don't have any way of knowing how this was going. But think about the guy. He's been getting beat up all day. He's frustrated. He's on the ground. This guy's jaw-jacking in his face. So apparently he reaches up and tries to pull that guy, Myles Garrett, helmet off, and he didn't get it done.
Okay, so
that's what they're saying.
Yes, because so I've watched the video from a couple of different
angles. Same here.
And just my take was it was... Like I told my old boss, it can go 50-50. I'm not going to say that this is what his intent was, because that's the problem I have is that people are giving their opinions about it, but they're giving it as if they knew what the intent was.
Well, and they're displacing the whole reality of what the real problem was. They quickly gravitate towards race, and we'll get to that here in a minute.
It was two football players. That's what the race was. It was Browns and Steelers.
Two grown men that are getting in a fight. One didn't like the guy being on top of him, talking shit to him. And honestly, the more I see it, I think Rudolph is just as guilty. I really believe they both share that. Because you can't start shit with a guy that's all pumped up after hitting you. And he tried to walk away, and the quarterback went back after him.
Yeah, because
that's when he got the helmet pulled off and he got bopped on top of the head.
There's a lot of intensity for going on, you know. So you don't want the play to end. You want to continue going. Hell, you may not like the way that the guy took you down, and so you're going to go after him.
Yeah. But if your defense is doing the job.
Yeah.
If your offensive line is doing the job, then that really shouldn't be an issue.
Stop being so goddamn defensive.
For sure. You know, so we see this thing escalate, and other players come in to break it up.
Right.
Not to join in and beat this guy's ass, but this guy ain't shutting up. The quarterback is not shutting up.
Right.
Okay, so the other guy's got his helmet in his hand. And I agree with every comment I've read. It says if a guy's got your helmet in his hand and you're trying to fight him, that's probably not the smartest thing to do. Okay?
We're about to see a lesson learned here.
Yeah, somebody's going to get a lesson. Right or wrong, he's going to get bopped. So the guy gets clubbed on top of the head, and then you see other players coming in and getting involved.
Which, actually, that feeds into the intensity that somebody, like,
sure,
he's still amped up after the play. You know, he's got a lot of shit going on.
And who knows what was said.
Now, my only issue is one of the news shows that one of the sports casts I saw was it was this one woman that spoke towards the tail end of some really good commentary from Rex Ryan and Randy Moss. Randy Moss fucking impressed the shit out of me with the shit he had.
Oh, he's a smart dude,
but her deal was she kept throwing, like, when somebody loses like emotional control. Well, the first thing I'm thinking is we're not talking about a bunch of crying kids here. So stop explaining it that way, because now it's seemingly less like a manly sport the way that when you keep talking.
But is she wrong?
I don't know. It was just her commentary that had a problem.
It's funny because I ride my line's pretty much straight down the middle.
Right.
I don't care what color you are. I don't give a shit about that, because honestly, when you lose control of yourself and you start a fight with a dude,
right,
you kind of bring that on yourself.
Yeah, you're inviting.
Yeah, you're doing something. Now you've stepped across the line. Now, I know they laid down suspensions, but I don't think they're done, and everybody's acting as if they're done with these suspensions.
Oh, no.
But I don't think they're done. So they made the most blatant one first, which was the Garrett guy.
Which they had to
They had to do that because you still got games going. You still have 6, 8, 10 games left in the season to go.
Right.
And so you want to set that down really quick, like, look, we're not going to tolerate this.
And that's usually the heavy lifting is out of the way. Now you start addressing the other things.
And I think that Rudolph is going to get more too. I honestly, he's not free of guilt in this.
No.
But he also didn't deserve to get hit with a helmet.
Yeah.
That other player should have tried to punch him maybe, but because if he'd hit him in the temple, he could have killed him. He could have broke his nose. He could have given him a concussion, whatever it is.
there was a lot of comments made that I equated to shoulda, woulda, coulda. It was like once you have possession of the quarterback's helmet, why didn't you just drop it? Well, number one is he's not thinking that.
I'd have took it to the bench as a trophy.
Oh, that would be fun. I'm now a headhunter.
Yeah, I have your helmet, bitch. That would have been more devastating. And I'd have sat on it like an egg on the sideline.
That is, I love that. Is the fact that because that sends that's a
message.
That message alone is just getting in somebody's head.
Oh, you want this back?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to take your hat.
We're both going to be on the field at the same time.
I'll bring it back.
Bring it to you.
Yeah, I'll bring it to you. That would have been, I think, more of a badass move. But anyway, so now you also have to know that sports is full of a bunch of talking heads, like we talked about earlier. Mm-hmm. Some of them say some really brilliant things, and they keep their head about them. But you get these idiots that go out there and they troll, and they want to make it a race thing. So I guess 3 black players were suspended.
Yeah, Pouncey and
Garrett and another guy.
And I mean the particularly Pouncey is I think he was the one who threw the kicks. From my perspective, I was like, I understood why he did it. He's protecting his quarterback.
Yeah,
it's his teammate.
Yeah.
So
which could have gotten killed. I mean, honestly, if that guy connected on the bridge of his nose on his temple, I mean, that could have been bad.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some strong dudes in that game.
Now, I doubt, had he swung his fist and hit Rudolph in the face, I don't think that Pouncey probably would have been quite as destructive as he was once he had him on the ground. Because after that, I mean, once that helmet landed, it was a melee there.
No, and there's no talking at that point. There's no talking to stop this fight. It's literally got to play out.
Right.
You got to pry guys off. But the thing that got me was the dude that was standing there, and a guy just come running from the backfield and just knocked him down. Honestly, they should all be suspended for the rest of the season. You want to stop fighting in the NFL? That's what you do. This isn't hockey. Okay, and even hockey, they've shut that down.
Right.
In the NBA, it's the same thing. You fight, you're out.
Yeah, I don't see fighting happen. I know for a while there was a period where you saw a lot of fighting going on in basketball, which is not something I ordinarily see. Or when I was growing up, I never saw a lot.
Well, the fines are heavy, and the penalties are heavy, and you got to do that. You have kids watching this game. Okay, you have children that watch this game.
Who worship
these guys.
Players.
They play pee-wee football. They play flag football, junior high school,
now
and
college. Start doing the same, mimicking these same things.
Mimicking the same things, and these players have to learn to check that emotion. You're getting paid a lot of money to play a game, and that's where I fall with professional sports. These guys make way too much money.
Right.
There's no player in this world worth $300 million. I don't care. If you walk on water, walk on a tightrope, can throw footballs through little bitty tiny holes, I don't give a shit what you do with that. You're not worth $300 million. I don't care what anybody says.
Well, okay, so this weekend also was the tryout that the special tryout that the NFL
for Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah. So are you aware of any of the bullshit he pulled?
Yeah, he's a clown.
He pulled the location and went to some other place.
Yeah, he's just a publicity whore. Is all he is.
Yeah, because
that's all he is.
Because Stephen Smith had some really interesting thoughts on that as well.
Yeah,
because when this whole thing started, Stephen was in support of Colin and his
let the guy make some money if he can make the team.
Yeah. And so now when this most recent incident when Colin pulled the location and showed up someplace else. Stephen Smith is in a nutshell was like, okay, this guy really is not trying to go back in the league.
No, he's not.
He's trying to be. He is trying to basically tell the people who had the checkbook what he is going to do.
Yeah. And
they're still going to have to pay him. No, that's not how this fucking shit works.
No.
You're going to have to go in and prove that you're a capable player. And whatever you agree on for the money but they're also going to say these are the conditions that you're going to be able to how you're going to conduct yourself. You don't get to tell me that you're going to do anything you fucking want, and still get paid. No, fuck you.
Well, that's the thing. Teams don't need distractions and sideshows.
No.
They got enough of that. And you could be the best, which he's not. So let's not even give him credit for that.
No.
He was a mediocre to almost
At
getting
best.
cut quarterback. And the only reason why he's got popularity is because he pulled a publicity stunt that just went fucking viral because of all the trollers that joined in on it.
Right.
And then he got support of Jay-Z and all these other idiots that are clearly social destructive people.
So this recent tryout that he was given was because of the intervention that Jay-Z did, and now Jay-Z is
mad at him.
He's backed off,
and he should.
His endorsement.
He should, because the guy's a clown. And so, you know, that's, again, this is when you look at a sport that transcends itself beyond real life.
Right. Somebody thinks that they're bigger than the industry itself.
How many excellent football players have shot themselves in the foot because they can't stay out of trouble, can't stay off the drugs, can't quit hitting people, men or women, can't keep getting arrested? I mean, we did a podcast on this, I guess, in our first year of podcasting about the NFL.
Right. Yes.
Remember that?
Yeah.
And it was like the felons. Okay, yeah, they have concussions. Okay, well, so do veterans.
Right.
Okay. Actually, if you really want to know the statistics, anybody that's been in artillery fire or heavy ordnance fire has multiple concussions, more than any athlete on the planet. Mm-hmm. Okay. So these guys don't come home and do the stuff these guys do. And we don't treat them like we treat athletes. I think we should be treating them a lot better.
Right.
It's sad because I don't want to get on a box because I can go on for 2 hours on this. But when you have people playing a game and it gets beyond the game and it becomes them,
right,
you've lost me. I'm done. Like, I haven't watched an NBA game in 3 years. I haven't watched an NFL game in 3-4 years. I couldn't tell you who the the Super Bowl champions are and the NBA champion. I have no clue because of the antics. I've gotten tired. I will not sacrifice my love for the sport to support the antics of a bunch of spoiled morons.
Okay.
I will not do it. The baseball right now, I've been watching baseball because I'm a diehard. This most recent thing is like, look,
the stealing
I'm like,
signs.
I haven't seen any indication of that yet. I mean, they all do it. I played ball. Okay, I wasn't a pro, but I played many levels of baseball.
Because you were like semi-pro.
Yeah, I tried to get in a farm league, and I found out I was not good.
Yeah.
I was not as good as the dudes that were playing. I was good for a school kid, and I was good for pickup teams and stuff like that. But when you get into the level of excellent athletes, God just touches some of them on the head harder than the others.
Sure.
And so you see that, and I've been a fanboy of it all for all these years. You're always trying to steal, but I will tell you, stealing signs, there's a split second from the time the ball leaves the guy's hand.
You still have to put the bat
to
on
the time it gets to the plate. You can't pick that off.
Right.
There's no way. This is a bunch of trollers that found momentum, and they're just running it. For some reason, and I'll tell you where it's coming from. I'll say right here, people in the North hate the Astros. People on the West Coast hate the Astros.
Because they beat the Yankees.
And they're going to find every reason why they won because they cheated. No, they didn't cheat. They just beat your dead, tired ass. I mean, if you look at if they said that we were stealing signs, then we would have beat the Red Sox last year.
Right.
And we would have beat the Nationals this year.
Well, and it just boils down to...
It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Certain teams sucked more than other people. Mm-hmm. Okay,
and let's face it,
more.
Our old dudes were tired.
Right.
Verlander, which to me he's a master on the mound.
Okay,
but he was gassed in those last few games against the Yankees and against the Nationals. That guy was gassed in the fourth inning of the last game he pitched. You can tell he was frustrated and he was trying to find himself in that game.
Okay.
And then you look at Garrett Cole. I mean, Garrett Cole was awesome all year until the very end, and he started getting hammered.
Right.
If we were stealing signs, don't you think we'd have been hammering back?
Yeah. Well, and when people start talking about taking a piece of knowledge that they acquire, we'll just stick with their words, stealing. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. And it's acquiring a piece of knowledge and being able to use it at the exact moment that you need it to get an advantage.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, when you steal a sign and at the moment the pitcher releases the ball, that you know you're going to make contact because you know a piece of information that they don't know that you know. And I'm like, no, it still boils down to your ability to execute.
React to exactly. Well, it's funny because all these ballparks now use analytics.
Yes.
So there's telemetry all over the stadium, and the Minute Maid Park happens to be one of the most advanced ones at it. There's some parks you don't get telemetry because they're not wired for it.
Okay.
So they can tell you the movement and distance of a player over from point A to point B. They can tell you the movement of a ball.
All right.
Now they're talking about putting an automated strike zone in the ball game. If you don't think that's not going to create some opportunity for hacking, you got another guess coming.
Oh, sure.
Because you're tracking you're going to have to put something in the ball that it can be tracked and then located at a specific point in time to make a call.
Well, now we're getting even closer to pre-programming a championship.
This was a game, guys. This is what, if you go back, so I watched the 1953 World Series between the Dodgers and the Yankees.
Now they don't even want a guy standing behind home plate for 3 hours saying whether something's fair or not.
I know. It's the stupidest thing. But I watched the 53 World Series. I think it was the Yankees and the Dodgers. And, you're sitting there and you're watching these old dudes just... to me, it reminded me of watching a modern ball game. You had guys that were striking dudes out. You had guys that were hitting foul balls. I mean, you had all this stuff going on that you see in a regular ball game without all the theatrics.
Sure.
I honestly blame all this on people trying to make money off the sport that have never been good at the sport.
Yes.
And they're like newscasters. I can't stand news reporters. This is nothing new. This has been an issue for me for a long time.
When they try to become analysts.
And they sensationalize everything. The whole thing is about sensationalizing a story.
And
they read shit into it that's not there.
And keeping their viewership up.
Yeah.
Which is,
and anybody that's willing, when you got a guy that's starving, making $30,000-$40,000 a year, and you offer him $100,000 to say a bunch of shit that ain't true,
of course he's going to
There'll be a lot of people doing that. And that's part of the problem we have in our society.
He sees his quality of life just shut the fuck up.
Exactly. And integrity has just went out the fucking window with a lot of these people because it's the money.
Right.
And it's sad because that's where we're going with all this stuff. All the games that you can enjoy now have all been, well, like we were watching the league earlier, okay?
Yeah.
So we're watching some clips from the league, and it's about a fantasy football group of guys.
Right.
Well, all these sports basically are getting their numbers from gambling lines.
Okay, yes.
All these statistics is information coming from the Vegas line.
Well, yeah, and that's my whole thing with people who are slave to statistics.
Yeah.
Is the fact that you statistically something happens a lot of the time. In my opinion, you mistakenly think because you know this piece of information that it happens this way all the time.
Yeah.
No,
therefore you are. Yes.
You have now here you have forgotten what's a statistic and what is reality, because that's what you hope statistically something happens. What you don't want is reality to happen. That's
exactly right. A good friend of mine has like I said, we have this discussion all the time about stats, and it's like, look, dude, the stat is what you did at a point in time in the past.
And it's an average.
Yeah.
It's all it is an average.
Yeah. Whatever happened to the breakout athlete, the clutch player.
Right.
When you look at those moments, so what makes sports a drama for most of us is a man or a woman that picks a point in time to go beyond themselves.
Okay.
That's what we're looking for in the drama of sports. When you look at like Simone Biles, for example.
Oh yeah, freaking awesome.
Jeez, that is the most incredible athlete on the planet. To do what she does with speed, balance, and grace and strength. That's the quadruple threat. You got a person that is defying gravity in physics to perform at a level that's just beyond none.
Right.
But look how long it took her to get there. I mean, it's an entire lifetime. If you look at baseball, look at professional sports that are dominated by men. They are short-lived careers in many cases. There's some guys that they have longevity, but they're generally the calm guys that are just perform well under pressure. They're not the high-speed, full-throttle guys that crash into walls and make shit happen.
Right.
You got the thinker of the game that's actually fast and crafty as well.
Yeah.
And it's funny because, I don't know, you're looking at maybe 5-10 years, and then you're done. And some guys don't even get that. Some guys only have one great baseball season.
Right.
And then for some
become
reason,
the actual shooting star of
and that's just the human drama. You can't be on all the time. To have the mental mindset that you have to be on all the time is a very dangerous thing anyway. I'm not saying, whenever it feels good. No, when those opportunities present themselves. Because how many times have you played through a rut? And the harder you played, the worse it frickin' got.
Right.
Well, a smart athlete's going to know that, look, it ain't working today, so what am I going to work on? I'm going to try to survive this.
This is what's funny. So my dad, bowling was a very big thing in my family, okay? So not only with my mom and dad and other family members, but I did it as well. But as I got older, and I got better at it, but I learned that I was probably a better coach than
right.
Now, and plus, when things started getting worse with me, it just helped me become a better coach because I could actually verbalize what I was trying to help another player do.
That's the key.
So, so my dad is one of these guys who, in my opinion, he is like the pure definition of chaos. He does the same thing over and over and over again, but
expecting
he's
a
always
different result.
Expecting a different result.
Yeah.
And so when I tell him some of the things that I used to do to get a different result, hey, it may be changing equipment, it may be shortening my approach, lengthening my approach, my hand position, just something that changes the effect that the ball has. Because I would tell him that, I said, keep in mind, this ball has something in it. And what you're doing is imparting some sort of physical action to make this ball to enhance whatever movement you've given to it. So, and I said, and it's all a coordination between your hands and your foot speed and how fast you approach the line. So all these things, I said, and all of these things have to gel together at the very same time when you hit the line and release the ball.
Yeah.
And you have to do that 12 times. Do that 12, 13 times. And that there's your perfection. That's how you know.
So do you think, though, I personally think that you can be physically trained and prepared for it, but it's all mental.
The mental part is
you have to
really
be
consistent.
Yeah, and so self-talk is a huge thing.
Yeah, and I do that all the time.
Yeah, because you and I were talking the other day. So between games, honestly, music was playing in my head the whole time. I mean, I can sit there and I'm playing a game and there's a song that gets stuck in my head that is basically just keeping me going.
Right.
I was a huge napper during between innings and stuff that.
Like nap.
Yeah, I would literally
close
just
my eyes.
Close my eyes, kind of nap.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys are like, "Oh, you're not watching the game close enough." Blah blah blah. Well, no, I understand what I'm doing. I understand what my role is, and I see the momentum of the game. I'm in it when I need to be in it.
Right.
But I'm also thinking through a place. So I was really good at basketball and baseball as a kid.
Okay.
So for me, a lot of it was I was mentally playing the game, but I'm doing it with my eyes shut.
Right.
Okay. And I'm just leaning back in a chair and I'm just sitting
on a
there.
different field.
Yeah, I'm just playing a different field. Exactly. I used to be the kind of guy that would lay on the gym floor with the lights off and take a ball and shoot it in the air and catch it and shoot it in the air and catch it.
Right.
Laying on my back. It was just giving me feel. I was a really high percentage shooter in school, and I was really high free throw.
What you want.
Yeah, and so that's where I was. And so for me, that was my mental makeup. It didn't fit everybody's thing.
Yeah.
But my coach understood really quick that, that's how he is.
That's actually a very important thing to know about yourself.
Yeah.
Because there are lots of times where I can tell, and really, if you think about it, you're telling somebody what works for you.
Right.
But it doesn't necessarily work for them. And the thing is it would. They just don't have the patience to do it. So, but again, that's just one of those things where, hey, they're going to do what they're going to do. And how I look at it, sometimes I'm going to watch you suck.
Yeah.
But there's nothing that I can do because you keep thinking that, for whatever reason, like my dad, I need to keep doing the same thing because there'll be this one time where it'll do the complete opposite of the physical things that you're doing.
You hear Lucy?
Yes, I'm trying to ignore her.
Right.
So
we've kind of come to the end of this anyway. So it's funny. Let's close with just one more thing since we're all over the place today.
Just so long as you didn't say let's close with a prayer.
No, we won't do that. But we probably need to for some people. So the ACLU gives Christy Blaisley Ford a Courage Award.
Really? For
what? They hand these out like participation awards. Apparently, she was giving us an award
for showing her face and
for lying, for lying. Basically, I feel dragging a guy's life through the ditch and then rescinding the fact that this actually happened. So anyway,
so she's really like a tractor puller.
Yeah. So if we give a Jackhole of the Day award when we close, we're going to give it to her for sure. But anyway, it's been fun shooting the shit with you, Sam. It's been a good time.
Sweet.
Hopefully, we'll have Todd back at the next podcast, and then because I'm sure we'll have some really good stories to come out of this.
Sure.
This week as well. So anyway, see you later, bud.
All right, I'm out.